Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on my channel. Hope you're all doing good, hope you are all doing well. The summer transfer window is not too far away. So today we're going to look at 10 players that I think need to move in this summer transfer window. Of course, Algerian players, and where they will or should be moving to, what sort of move they're looking to. And I think this is a crucial transfer window because this is pretty much the last transfer window before the Africa Cup of Nations. So any player that wants to stake a claim in Jemal Belmadi's squad for the Africa Cup of Nations needs to be, first of all, playing football at a regular time period, you know, not just on the bench every week. They need to be playing week in, week out. And secondly, at a decent level as well, not just playing in the Saudi League, getting tens of thousands of pounds every single week. So let's start off with the first player, and that is Rami Bensebaini. Now this one, fairly obvious. Him to Dortmund. It needs to happen. He's a free agent in the summer. I think he's too good with respect to Borussia Mönchengladbach. One of the highest scoring defenders in the Bundesliga over the last few years. I mean, that is some going for Ammi, left back. And his goals, I know he's taken to the penalties, but his goals and his contribution to attacking plays has been fantastic. And I think he's enjoying his time in Germany. Hence why he's strongly linked to a move to Borussia Dortmund, and I think that would be perfect. First of all, it would put Bensebaini back playing in the UEFA Champions League, testing himself against some of the best forwards in European football, which would be great going into the Africa Cup of Nations. And it's a position I think Dortmund need to strengthen in. They've got Rafael Guerreiro, I think it is, the Portuguese guy, but he's really good. I just don't think he's a natural left back. And obviously Schultz has gone off the boil. So Bensebaini to Dortmund on a free transfer, it's just no risk involved. I'm sure a whole host of our clubs have tried and want to try to sign Rami Bensebaini on a free agent, but he is fantastic. Second of all, Ramiz Zerrouki to Feyenoord. This is pretty much done as well. Zerrouki, of course, playing in the Eredivisie in Holland for FC20. Now, because of the emergence of the likes of Aouar, Adli, Shaibi, the pressure's on Zerrouki now. He's been pretty much, him and Benasser have been together in that midfield over the past 18 months to 2 years. I haven't seen enough still. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I've not seen enough to suggest that we can win an AFCON with Zerrouki in the centre of the midfield. But of course, going to Feyenoord again, playing in European football again next season, be very good. But when you look at the competition for places around Zerrouki in that centre midfield area, Benasser at AC Milan, Aouar, wherever he goes, Adli, Badawi even in Liga, even Bentaleb playing in Liga, he needs to be at a better club because, quite frankly, he's not playing anywhere near the level with respect to the Dutch league compared to Algeria's other central midfield players. So this is a move that had to be done. It's a safe move. Again, it's staying in a league that he knows, and of course he can speak the language in the Netherlands. So again, Zerrouki to Feyenoord is a move we need to see if he wants to get into that squad. Third of all, Houssem Aouar, we just touched on it there, needs to leave Lyon. Again, another player that will be available on a free transfer. We know the racial bias Lyon have to players when they ditch the French for the Algerian national team. Barely been used since he's declared for Algeria. Aouar needs to be playing regular football. He needs to get fit. He wasn't even in the last Algeria squad because he wasn't fit enough to be in it, as Belmadi said. But going into that AFCON and to see the very best of Houssem Aouar, he needs to go to a good club. He needs to get out of France where they're booing him just because he picked Algeria. I think Roma, working for a coach as demanding as Jose Mourinho, would be perfect for Mr. Houssem Aouar. So I'd like to see Aouar move to Roma. Next up, Andy Delort. Not been the season he's been hoping. Of course, we had all that drama before about when he joined Nice and they didn't let him go to the Africa Cup of Nations and that sort of thing. Then, of course, he's been loaned out in January to Nantes and he's not really scored that many league goals, and they're in a massive relegation battle now. I'd like to see him move to a lesser level Ligue 1 club where he's the main man. I think Delort thrives when he's the main man. When he was at Montpellier, he was the main man. When he first went to Nice, he was the main man. Before Nice got all these, high wages players like Kasper Schmeichel, Ross Barkley, Nicolas Pepe, Delort needs to be the main man. And a club like, I'd say, Stade de Rennes. Now, Balogun is on loan from Arsenal. He's been banging in the goals. They're going to be a centre forward because I'm pretty sure Balogun's not going to stay at Rennes next season. I think Delort to Rennes would be a perfect opportunity for him to be the main guy and to score goals going into that Africa Cup of Nations. Speaking of strikers, the next one, Mohamed Amoura, playing for Lugano in the Swiss League. Again, I think a league where Amoura is underappreciated. I don't think he's necessarily ready for a big step up in terms of a top 5 league. But when you look at a player like Slimani at Anderlecht and what he's been doing in Belgium, and maybe even him himself can advise the club in Belgium to take a look at Amoura, I think that would be a really good move if we could see Amoura moving to Anderlecht, you know, being mentored by Slimani. And of course, Slimani's not getting any younger. He'll be 35 next year. They're going to need a young centre forward at Anderlecht. They're going to need to bounce back to their glory days. And I think Amoura to Anderlecht, by playing in the Belgian league, would be perfect. He'd be testing himself, but not at a level that's too far-fetched for him. And we need to see more of Amoura at a top level, because again, if he scores 5 to 10 goals in Switzerland going into an AFCON, I don't think the top-level defenders in Africa are going to be particularly worried about that. So I think that would work well for all parties involved. Next up, again, another central midfield player, Yacine Adli. Now, Yacine Adli is an Algerian international player. He has declared. Again, like Aouar, he wasn't selected in the last squad, really, because he's not had any game time. And this goes back to what we're saying at the start. If you're not playing any games, Belmadi isn't going to pick you. It doesn't matter if you're Mahrez or whoever. So he's at AC Milan, massive club, which is amazing. But we were hoping we were going to see him and Benasser form a central midfield partnership that would benefit the national team. It just hasn't materialised. So I think he'll be loaned out from AC Milan. I think it's far too good for them to just sell him without even barely using him. I'd like to see him go to another club in Italy that would get him ready for Serie A if he was to progress at AC Milan at a later date. But the key thing for Adli is playing time. So maybe a Fiorentina, for example, would be perfect. Maybe even if Fiorentina lost Amrabat to a bigger club, bring Adli in as a replacement. He's got to move. He's got to get some game time. Next player is Rayan Ait-Nouri, the Wolves left back. Now, there is no doubting the quality of Ait-Nouri. For me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet for Belmadi at Algeria's next Africa Cup of Nations. He has not kicked a ball in months. He's not started for Wolves since he made his debut for Algeria. What is going on there? There has to be something wrong behind the scenes, because he's not injured. Last game for Wolves, he was back on the bench. Before that, he wasn't even on the bench, or not even in the squad. So why is Ait-Nouri not starting? I think even being on the bench is an insult to Rayan. 21, 22 years of age, needs to develop, such high potential. Algeria's man of the match in the first game against Niger. Clearly Lopetegui doesn't like what he's seeing. He's playing Totti, he's playing Bueno, maybe because they're both Iberian and he relates to them more. I don't know, but I think Ait-Nouri to Marseille, which will also be a better club, a lot of Algerian supporters at Marseille, and a league he knows well, coming through Liga, and also the opportunity to potentially play in the UEFA Champions League would be fantastic for Rayan Ait-Nouri. So that's a move I would like to see. Next up, Mehdi Leris. Sampdoria are getting relegated from Serie A. And I don't think Leris is that bad, and he's not the reason why Sampdoria have been relegated. He's a top player. I've seen him both play right back with Algeria. I know it's a more wide midfield player for Sampdoria, of course, playing right back for the national team. He's too good to go down. He cannot be the reason why Sampdoria, as a big club, have gone down. I'd like to see him stay in Serie A at like an Empoli or a club like that. That'd be good for me. But again, he needs to be playing at a good top league. I don't think Belmadi will look to take him to a tournament if he's playing in Serie B, even if that is with a club as good as Sampdoria. Next player, Youcef Belaili. What a mess. What an absolute mess. More clubs in a season than any player ever. What is he doing? He is the worst thing about Belaili, and the frustrating thing is that he has the talent. There is no doubting Belaili's ability, his dribbling, his assists, his crossing, the ability to make you go wow when he beats a man. But his final decision making lets him down, not just on the football pitch, but also off the football pitch. You cannot tell me it's a coincidence that every club Belaili goes to wants him out. Whether that be when the Arab Cup was on and the Qatari club let him go, the Saudi club let him go, Brestois let him go, Ajaccio don't want anything to do with him, and they're in a relegation fight. They're literally going to go down, and they're probably Belaili's their best player, their most exciting, invigorating player. They don't want to use him. The bloke's not turning up to training. If I'm him, I'm going to Al Nassr, I'm going to Saudi. Just admit you want the paycheck, son, and play with Ronaldo. So for me, Belaili to Al Nassr would suit all parties. And again, he's going to be a free agent because he's only contracted to Ajaccio until the end of the season. No way are they going to be looking to extend that. And finally, Nabil Bentaleb. Again, another player at a club where they are relegated. Angers, what a mess again off the pitch. Bentaleb, the captain, far too good. But for Nabil, it was never about playing well for Angers. It was about him getting his fitness, playing regular football, because there was a time when he was not even playing. Of course, the loan spell at Newcastle and stuff like that. He was trying to find his feet again when Schalke went down. He's back to his best. Angers' best player. Really, really good player, really good midfield player. Worked his way back into the Algeria squad, and he was playing at the Brazil World Cup. It seems like he's been around for a long time. I think he's still only 27, 28. Still got a lot to offer. He's got a massive role to play, I think, at the next Africa Cup of Nations. We look at Gudiora not being involved anymore. I think Bentaleb is that play breaker that will come back into the side, but he can't be playing in Ligue 2, and certainly not for a club in a mess like Angers. Good leadership abilities. That's why he's a captain. I think he's not done yet in the Premier League. I think a club like Crystal Palace would work really well for Bentaleb. You look at Lokonga going back to Arsenal from his loan spell. Bring Bentaleb in. Really, really good deal. Get him on the cheap. Playing in the Premier League again. Playing against some of the best midfield players in the world ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations. I think, again, that'd be a great deal for all parties involved. So you let me know your thoughts on the Algerian players and where they should be looking to move in this summer transfer window. That's the key 10 for me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. I'll see you next time.